Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving into a framework that could totally change the way you think about, well, pretty much everything. It's called the Six Thinking Hats, and trust me, it's an amazing tool for cutting through the noise and getting things done.
So here's the game plan. We're going to start by looking at why our thinking gets so tangled up in the first place. Then, we'll introduce a really elegant solution to that problem. After that, you'll meet the tools for the job, the six hats themselves. We'll see how they work in the real world, and we'll wrap up by looking at how this whole approach can really transform how you tackle any challenge.
All right, so let's jump right in by talking about a problem that I'm pretty sure every single one of us has faced.
You know the feeling, right? You're in a meeting or even just a discussion, and it feels like you're just going around in circles. You've got one person focused on the data, another is having a strong emotional reaction, and someone else is busy generating wild new ideas. It feels like nobody's on the same page, and you end up with frustration instead of progress.
So, what's the root of all this chaos? Well, according to the guy who came up with this whole system, Edward Bono, it's one simple thing: confusion. Our brains are trying to juggle way too much at the same time. We're dealing with feelings, facts, logic, optimism, creativity, all at once. It's like trying to play tennis, chess, and paint a masterpiece simultaneously. No wonder it's a mess.
Okay, so if the problem is basically mental chaos, what's the fix? Well, it involves a pretty big shift in how we think, from arguing to, well, map making.
De Bono's big idea here is something called parallel thinking, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of everybody's ideas crashing into each other like a demolition derby, we get everyone to look in the same direction at the same time. We stop fighting and we start building a shared understanding of the landscape, together.
I love this analogy. Imagine you're printing a full-color map. You don't just splash all the ink on the page at once, right? No way. You lay down the blue for the water, then a layer of green for the forests, then the black for the roads. Parallel thinking applies that exact same logic to our thoughts. We explore one type of thinking at a time to build a rich, complete picture.
And this gets to the heart of why De Bono thinks our standard way of doing things, arguing and debating, is just broken. When we argue, our goal is to win. We attack, we defend, and in that process, we completely shut down our ability to come up with new ideas or really create anything new. We're too busy fighting to actually explore.
All right, so let's get to the good stuff. How do we actually do this? This is where we meet the 6 tools for the job, and it's a really cool concept.
The whole system is built around 6 symbolic thinking hats. Each one has a color and a specific job. Think of them as different modes of thinking you can switch on and off. We've got white for pure information, red for gut feelings, black for spotting problems, yellow for finding benefits, green for new ideas, and blue for managing the whole process. Let's meet them one by one.
First up, the white hat. When you're wearing this hat, you are basically a walking computer. You're all about the facts, just the facts. What information do we have? What information do we need? There's no opinion, no spin, just the raw data.
And then you've got the total opposite, the red hat. This is your official permission slip to talk about emotions, gut feelings, and intuition. And here's the crazy part. You never have to explain why you feel that way. You can just say, I have a really bad feeling about this plan. And that's it. It's a valid piece of the puzzle.
Okay, now for a really important pair, the black and yellow hats. These two are both about logic, but they look in completely opposite directions. The black hat is your inner critic, the cautious voice that spots risks and asks, what could go wrong here? On the flip side, the yellow hat is the optimist. It logically looks for the benefits and the value, asking, why is this a great idea?
And then there's my personal favorite, the green hat. Think green, think growth, think new life. This is your creativity hat. When this hat is on, anything goes. It's all about brainstorming, exploring wild possibilities, and breaking free from the old ways of doing things.
Last but not least, we have the blue hat. And if the other hats are the musicians in an orchestra, the blue hat is the conductor. It's not focused on the topic itself, but on the thinking process. The blue hat sets the plan, decides which hat we're using now, and keeps everybody on track. It's the hat that thinks about the thinking.
Okay, so now we've met the whole team of hats, but how do they actually play together? How do you use them to get something done?
Well, it's all about using them in a sequence. You don't just throw them on randomly. For instance, you could start with the blue hat to say, okay, here's our goal. Then everybody puts on their white hat to lay out all the facts. Once you have the data, you can switch to the green hat for some creative brainstorming. Then you'd use the yellow hat to find the good in those ideas, followed by the black hat to look for potential problems. Finally, you come back to the blue hat to sum it all up and decide what's next. It creates this beautiful, organized flow.
Now, it's really important to get this. This whole six hats thing, it's not just some clever trick for your next boring meeting. It's a much deeper shift in how you can approach any complex problem, whether you're by yourself or in a group.
The payoff for thinking this way is huge. For one, it basically gives everyone's ego a vacation. You're not defending your idea anymore, you're just playing a role. It forces everyone to focus on just one thing at a time, which is incredibly powerful. It sets the rules of the game, encourages creativity and critical thinking, and just helps everyone get to a clear decision together.
And that really brings us to the most powerful idea of all. The magic of the six hats is that it's all about being deliberate in how you think. Instead of just reacting with a jumble of thoughts and feelings, you get to be in the driver's seat. You can consciously choose the right mental tool for the job at any moment. So, I'll leave you with this question. The next time you're facing a tough problem or a big decision, alone or with your team, think about this. Instead of just diving into the usual mental mess, which hat are you going to put on first? The facts, the feelings, the risks, the possibilities? Now, the choice is yours.